Welcome to the Too Inquisitive podcast.
You're too inquisitive.
At this point, I know I'm saying this every episode, but we got a really good one here for you. I mean, this conversation went so good, it ended up being 2 hours long. And if you've been listening to my previous podcast, you know I try to keep it just around an hour. So I'm going to apologize in advance for this podcast being so long, but it is so full of knowledge and it is very entertaining. And like I said, you can probably just hear it by listening to it. We had a really good conversation. I mean, that's why it went so long. So I'm going to keep this intro pretty short. I just want to introduce someone who tried to, or is, I guess you can consider him a politician. He ran for elections last year and unfortunately did not get elected. But I think he did pretty great for a first timer, which we talk about. He is also an established musician. I'm gonna leave that mess up in there. I don't feel like editing it out. He is an established musician. He started when he was pretty young, and eventually turned into something great. He is the owner, leader. I don't know what else to call it, but for Xtreme Band, you know him as Dirky Walters. His Facebook name is Dirk Walters. Introducing Mr. Dirky. All right, Dirky, thank you for being a guest on the podcast. I really appreciate you being here.
Anytime, brother. You know I got you, man. Respect and thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, thanks. So I have a good bit of stuff I want to talk to you about, mainly on the music side. Majority of the questions can come from the music side. And
Okay.
then I also want to get in a little bit on politics too.
Sure, no problem.
All right, cool. So let's start with music.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you to be one of the longest active musicians in the BVI.
That's a fact.
I want to know how long have you actually been doing music professionally?
Professionally, I've been doing music on a professional level for around 25 years, going on 26 years on a professional level.
That's way before I was born.
Yeah, man.
That's a couple years before I was
Yeah.
born.
Actually, I've been doing it that long, but I would say on a real professional level, yeah, about 25 years, yeah.
25 years.
Yeah, because just if you just look at my band alone, Extreme, in February coming next year, Extreme is gonna be 21 years old.
And that's my current age.
Yeah, so that's just Extreme. So that doesn't cover, prime time and jam band and all the stuff I did before that, and that doesn't even cover back to steel band days or anything. So that's to show you how long I've been doing this because I'm 42 years old now.
All right, then. So, seeing as you've been doing it for so long, obviously it takes a certain level of dedication, passion, and a love to be doing it for so long. Where did your love for music really come from? How did it really get started?
It really got started because first and foremost, just having, being a fan of music and being a fan of entertainment first and foremost before even getting technically or physically involved in the art form, and having that respect. First and foremost, you have to have that real genuine love and respect for the art form because it's an art. You understand? A lot of people look at this thing as a hobby, whether to get women or to make a quick buck to get money, but it has to be more than that. Your love for it, your passion, your respect for it has to transcend, fame, money, women, all of this stuff. So it goes really deep for me, and I just found that I always had a love for it. Music is something that, if you look at it, music is similar to kind of like food, and that's why all those things go hand in hand because, just like food, music brings everyone together. Because if you check it out, right, it doesn't matter whether a human being is a doctor, a lawyer, a sanitation worker, a janitor, or whatever. Music brings everyone together regardless of color, creed, race, class, whatever, So I just always found it and it was always like my getaway. Like, we all go through things through life, even in our young age, whether it's kind of like peer pressure, though I never really had peer pressure because I've always been more like a born leader. That's just always been my personal, one of my main characteristics. So I've never been a follower. So I just kind of decided to carve my own niche, to create my own lane. And I always just found I had a love for it. And when I started to play, I found that I could just listen to the radio. And I grew up on like a lot of like 80s music, from country western like Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton and stuff like that, to like the Sam Cooke and the Marvin Gaye, the whole Motown era from even the 70s come up, and then the 80s, like the power rock ballads and different bands like that. And you will listen to like Cyndi Lauper and Madonna and all of these come up to the 90s. So like I've been exposed to like a plethora of music from different genres, and then growing up again, going to church, into the gospel and stuff. So it's like I was always exposed to really great music, even at home, because my parents had a really big record collection. So
Nice.
And that's when we physically used to have like record players, like how you see some DJs still use the turntables now.
Yeah.
So like my parents had a really big, actually I still have that collection in my basement at my old studio in Tong, right? I still have that collection. And when you're talking about, like I say, everything from Marvin Gaye and Al Green and all of this stuff on record, I actually have a lot of Virgin Islands music on original recordings on wax, the real records in pristine
Yeah?
condition as well, from 17 Plus and Jam Band and those guys back in the late 80s come forward. I have a lot of stuff. So, even guys like DJ Commodore used to come to me for records. So I had a
Nice.
big collection.
I was just gonna say I could imagine it probably doesn't have a lot of people in the BVI that could say that they have local BVI music and records and stuff.
Yeah, man. I have records. I have cassettes. I even have 8-track cassettes, which I never really got to play much of because the 8-track players became obsolete. As the eras changed, we went from 8 tracks. We had records, then we had actually cassette tapes, and you would know about CDs, compact discs, from when
Yeah.
you were young coming up.
Well, I know about cassettes and thing too. A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cassettes is what we really kind of grew up on in my era, like when I was a teen and stuff. And then it went to CDs, when I was leaving school and stuff, and CDs was the big thing. And if you even notice now, like the whole concept of the physical disc or cassette is kind of obsolete now,
Yeah, that
except
gone
for
out the
like
window.
yeah, except for like really hardcore music enthusiasts and
Yeah.
collectors. But to me, like that used to be half of the fun. Like I used to remember really looking forward to like even in the summer, you would get a little summer job and thing or whatnot. I always had money, even when I was a very young boy. I would do different jobs and have my own money. So I would go to like Bolo's record store, and I would go to St. Thomas, go to International Records and Tapes or Parrotfish Music, or go to the Puerto Rican Estates. And to me, half of the fun was actually going into a record shop and digging through the crates or digging through thing. And to me, like just buying a CD is like that pride of actually buying your favorite artist or band album and looking at the artwork. And I always used to read the credits. And that's what really got me involved in the business aspect of it. I was always keen to lean towards the business aspect of the music industry because I used to always be keen to read the credits. And the credits, I would see like who the producers are. Like I always loved the artists. But like for instance, right, I always had a lot more interest in Quincy Jones than Michael Jackson, even though Michael Jackson was the biggest entertainer in the world. I wanted to know who were the persons or the person behind of
Behind
Michael
of it.
Jackson.
Yeah.
That kind of way. So that's how I
Yep.
really got involved. And in music, my parents bought me a little cheap keyboard. Everybody started with a little cheap Casio, whatever the case is, or a Yamaha. And I found that I could just listen to the radio station, and I could more or less play along to anything I heard. So I was like, wow, how is that even possible? Because I'm not a classically trained musician. I never went to classes for music, never went to music school. I didn't even do band in high school. Never played an instrument. So I'm self-taught songwriter, self-taught producer, engineer, rhythm man, all of this stuff.
Yep. Going back to what you said about like reading the credits and stuff and caring more about who was behind of the production and stuff rather than the person that's actually singing the songs or whatever. That reminds me of myself in terms of like watching movies and stuff, because I'm into like filming and
Yeah.
that kind of things. So for me, like when I watch a movie on Netflix and I see like it's beautifully shot, especially like I like really like classic older movies, Like I like
Yeah.
90s movies and early 2000s, but when I look at the way things are like beautifully shot, like I go back and I go on Google and I'm looking for who directed this, who wrote it, what was their process
Exactly.
like. If they have like some kind of director's commentary on it, I'm quick to watch that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a whole,
So
because at the end of the day, right, some of us are born creatives, you know,
mhm.
and when you are creative, you are a critical thinker. So you would not just sit and watch a documentary or a movie or a TV episode like the average person might just watch it for entertainment purposes, but you're actually dissecting and analyzing all what's going on and wondering, hey, how did they get that kind of shot? How
Yep.
did they get that kind of, I remember watching movies like The Matrix, and I would go and I always look for the behind the scenes stuff that no one else was watching because it was so innovative at the time. Like the shots they were taking, you know, the slow motion stuff with the bullet when Neo was like leaning on the side from the bullet and all these things. And I can understand what you're saying because I always wanted to know, because I always been very inquisitive. Like I would ask questions about everything, you know, like I would even ask questions when I was a young boy. Like I used to ask my mom, like, how did that happen? How does this work? Like, you know, and she
Yep.
probably used to get upset with me. My parents probably used to get real upset with me
I
asking so
could
many questions, but
definitely
like,
relate. I could definitely relate to that. Actually, the name of this podcast is Too Inquisitive.
hey, you see that?
Yeah.
That's energy. That's how the universe works. That's that
Exactly.
energy, bro. That's that energy.
Yep. You know what's a movie that always fascinated me that I used to, when I was young, I used to really ponder how they made it is still to this day some of my favorite movies are the Jurassic Park series.
Oh yeah, Jurassic Park is one of those series that it's like it was, how we would say, like there's some movies, just like there's some productions like in music where there's like the great disruptor. You know, that kind of way. So when
Yeah.
movies like that coming on, they change the game, they change the whole landscape, and everybody, even if you're not a lover of that particular genre of film or music or whatever, you'll be like, whoa, how did they do this? How did they get this? Because it was like way ahead of its time. So I understand what you're saying.
And you know what's even iconic about the films too? It's not even just the film itself, it's the music they used in the film.
Exactly, the scoring.
Yeah, that Jurassic Park theme song, like when you hear that, you know
Yes,
exactly what that is. Similar to like how jazz changed the world. Whenever you hear that jazz
yes,
theme song, the first thing you think of is sharks.
exactly. Or like Mission Impossible and stuff like that. The theme song, actually,
Yeah.
you could recognize it from a mile away.
Yup, definitely. And that's what another thing too. Be trying to be a filmmaker. What I've learned is that it takes a lot more than just your visuals. Music has a big part to play in your film.
Yes, of
It
course.
it creates emotions. It creates memories. Everything like
Yeah, there would be no right scene done a certain way. There would be no human emotion without the music, without that scoring.
yep.
Because it's just like when you watch movies like say Lord of the Rings, you know, and that's like a movie that won multiple awards just for the music, for the scoring alone.
Yep.
You know, so the music sets the tone, it sets the emotion, you know, and that's the reason why I tell you music is so powerful, right? If you're a musician, I don't care where you're from, you might be more well known than your governor, your premier, any politician, any lawyer, any doctor, because as a
That's actually
musician,
straight facts.
yeah, you're gonna be recognized for your talents. And the great thing with music is, even if the people that are where you at don't appreciate you, someone is gonna love and appreciate you just because you make really great music. And it's not even just creating the content. Once you can perform, like when you're a musician, once you have a great live show, you're never gonna go broke. You're not supposed to ever go broke.
There's nothing like hearing your favorite music being played live. It's an amazing experience.
Big facts, big facts.
Like I remember being young before I've ever been to any live concerts or stuff. I used to wonder like why would people spend so much money to come see this band play live when you can hear it over and over on your CD at home or on YouTube or something, until I went to my first like live performance. I don't remember who it was I went to go see, but I just remember like getting that feeling like I understand now why you spend money to come see people live. It's an experience. It's amazing. One of my favorite people to see live is Marshall Montano.
Oh man, Marshall is like on that other level. That's
Facts.
why a lot of people have a lot to say about Marshall, right? But I'll tell you, right, that man has earned his respect and his name in the game, in entertainment on a whole, and it's not just in soca. You know, he has transcended, you know, he's broken out of boundaries where some people like to have you stuck in a box or have you to be like one-dimensional. He's superseded that. He stepped out of that and he stepped into the realm of dancehall, because when you look at it, even in terms of soca music, and, you know, Trinidad is the mecca of soca, of course.
Yeah.
That's where it started. But when Marshall really started branching out, venturing out, and doing collaborations, when I saw Marshall doing collaborations with Dougie Fresh, with Vegas, you know, with all these, with Pitbull, and all these different people, I'm like, listen, this guy know what he's doing. He is the truth. He's the real deal. And when you go to a Marshall Montano show, right, it's like a circus. Meaning you get in the dancers, you get in the craziest pyrotechnics, you know, the lights, the whole ambience of it, and the energy that he brings. But you can tell the difference between persons like him, entertainers like him, and your average entertainer. You can tell that he actually understands music, he understands performance, he understands energy and giving the people what they want, because he is a musician, he's a singer, he's a songwriter, he's an engineer, he's all of that. So he actually knows the music and he knows how to deliver his music to his people the right way.
Yep. The last Marshall show I went to was last year, August crop over. I went to Barbados and I had seen him because I try to go to Barbados every 2 years because our BVI Carnival World Festival is the same time of year as crop over. So
I know,
I like to kind of switch it up. So like this year I'll do BVI, next year I do Barbados, that kind of way.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's really good to get out there and see other cultures and travel. And I always encourage persons to go out there, man. There's some other really great carnivals going around the same time as us as well. Antigua,
it sucks that
Anguilla.
they all kind of happen around the same time because I would love to experience as much as I could.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I can never really go to them, because it's like, you know when you pledge allegiance, you have your loyalty to home. So it's like, for me, it's different because I do a lot of work here in terms of like not just performing with my band, it's not or putting out music. I do a lot. I'm intricately involved in a lot of big shows like the Calypso show and, you know, Soca Monarch and all of these things. So
a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
So I brought up that show because, like you were saying, he is like a circus and he understands giving the people a level of entertainment that you probably can't get from other places. And that last show I went to, he had fireworks, like a whole live fireworks show performance going on. And he brought out who was that state singer he did a song with? Was it Fantasia?
He's collaborated with a lot of persons.
It was like one of the more recent ones.
Ashanti,
yes.
Yeah,
he brought out Ashanti, and when she started to perform, boom, the fireworks going off, and like the level of energy is like you don't never want it to stop.
Exactly. And I've seen, I think the craziest thing I've seen Marshall do, which I actually got up out of my couch when I saw this live. I think it was Soca Monarch or one of those big shows down in Trinidad, where he actually put on the jetpack and he literally flew out of the stadium. Literally. Like he put on a jetpack. Yeah. It's on YouTube. You can find it. This guy literally put on a jetpack on the stage, strapped it to himself, and flew out of the stadium over all those tens of thousands of people. And I'm like, crazy. That's like on that other level. So that's to show you, like, he has that kind of foresight, that kind of vision. And like you say, that tenacity and that ambition to give people a show that, like you say, they would not see elsewhere. You wouldn't see anything like that by any other performer. I guarantee you that.
I'll agree with you on that one, for sure. So going back to when you started playing music professionally, which was the first band you officially played for?
The first band I think I officially played for professionally would have been a band called System Band. That would have been back in like I don't know, 94, 95 or somewhere around there. But that was just for a very short time because the guy that was the band leader actually had to go away to school. So that didn't last. But professionally, I would say that the next year, like in 95, is when it really took off because the first real big band that I played with was Prime Time. And Prime Time at the time was the biggest band in the entire BVI. You know, like
Yeah.
Prime Time was like on that level. Like, remember Jam Band was like the biggest thing in the Virgin Islands?
Yeah.
Prime Time was on that level. So like all these different cards, these tours, we will be all over touring with them, and it was Violators. Vio was a big band from St. Croix. Prime Time was a big band from the BVI, and Jam Man was a big band from St. Thomas. So like everywhere is like all three big bands a lot of the times, or two out of the three on the same card. So that was like the first real outing in a big proper band, I would say, that I had. And then I spent some years there. You know, they recruited me. And one thing I could say is any band that I've ever played with, they recruited me. You know, like I've never went to anyone and asked them to join the band. Like people would just hear about me because the thing is, I had already built a buzz for myself with my name before I ever joined any of these bands. So that's why they could come to me, because my name was already out there. I was already making rhythm for other bands in the USVI and stuff like that. And I just built this name as this young guy because I was still in school, you know, when I joined Prime Time, System and Prime Time and stuff. And I was like, I had that name for like making rhythm on the little keyboard, and then actually graduating to the drum machine, what we affectionately call the rhythm box
Yeah.
in the Virgin Islands, you know. So, and that's where it started for me. And I just, you know, continued to build that steam, build that buzz, and it went from there.
And after Prime Time, who did you play with after that?
I played after Prime Time. I took a little chill for a while. When I say chill for a while, just like a couple months, because I've never actually had more than literally a couple, meaning maybe 2 months of break from music ever.
Wow.
Since I started. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Because someone is always calling me. So when I'm not producing, or I'm not writing, or I'm not arranging or doing shows, I'm recording. When I'm not recording, I'm doing shows, I'm doing this and that, doing my
Fair
own
enough.
band. So yeah, so when I left Prime Time now, because I left them because I wanted to do other things, I wanted to get better. I kind of felt at the time that they were great at what they were doing and they had that name, but at the same time, it's not all about that name and the fame. You want to grow, you want to develop, and I really wanted to develop myself more and grow as a musician. You know, as a producer, I wanted to delve into other genres of music as well. They were just doing one style, so I was like, I'm gonna go do my thing. No problem, you guys do your thing. And then I went and I formed my own band, which turned out to be Xtreme. You know, and we
Did it
started
always
out.
have that name Xtreme from the beginning?
Yeah, Xtreme always had a name from the beginning. When we first started, we were just like kind of messing around in the band room, in the studio, and we were tossing around a couple of names, but that name came up from two really good friends of mine. One which was Kendoy Penn Maloney, who was sadly murdered. He used to walk in a government department right next to me in the government complex here in Tortola, and Big Worm, another good friend of mine from here, but he lives on St. John, Sean Fred. And both of them, they were co-workers. So, you know, they walk right next to me. So one day these guys just appeared and they said, Dirky, we got news for you. I said, what's up? So they were like, we got a perfect name. Everything you do, you take it to the extreme. You're so different. You're so rebellious. You're so unique. So we think you should name the band Xtreme. So I'm like, okay, that's not a bad idea. So I roll with it. And we started from there. And when we started, it wasn't even like doing the whole big band scene kind of thing, like, you know, the big stages and you know, on the road, running the road for Juves and Tramps and all this stuff. We basically started out doing you know, small clubs and bars and restaurants and stuff like that, doing covers. And but then it's just like the popularity just grew. And I remember the first time we went to play, the first gig we ever played as Xtreme was on February 14, Valentine's night at Mayats in King Garden in 1999. And they asked us to come and audition. Someone had heard us practicing, and they were like, hey, this band sound good, man. Because people, even when we were practicing in the band room, in the studio, people just used to come around sometimes and listen, hey, you guys sound really good. You should actually go out. Because we never really had that intention. We were just practicing music, you know, trying to get better at our craft. So then we went out to Mayats. They asked us to come and do an audition. Big up to Valerie and Sandman and Karim and everybody at Mayet's.
Yeah, they're very good
We
friends
went
of
to
mine, actually.
Yeah, they're really great people, man. And we went there to audition, and it turned out so well that they ended up paying us for the audition, and we actually ended up playing there twice a week. And then from there, Bomba Shack used to come there and hang out. He hired us to play at Bomba Shack twice a week. And pretty soon, we were playing every single night. It was so crazy that we used to play 7 nights a week. You know, on the weekend, something you're playing 2 and 3 times gigs within a day. And it got so crazy that the guy started to complain, "Hey, Dirky, this is too crazy, man. You give us at least one night off, man." So it cut down to 6. And then we cut it down to 5, and we stuck there. So it was like, it reached to the point one time where every pool party, every staff party, every kind of celebration you could have think about, birthday party could have been in a house, could have been at a bar, the big stage. We started to do big stage shows with big artists from Jamaica, Trinidad, States, all over. So it just really blew up because our style was different. Like, you would hear us play a Whitney Houston. You know, we would play like the VI stuff, you know, but you would hear us play a Whitney Houston. You would hear us play Bob Marley. You would hear us play Wyclef, all these different things. So we were so diverse. You know, we had a variety of music that could please anyone. So we just built that fan base, and it just kept going on from there. And I've been at it ever since. It's been a really great road.
I can imagine. It sounds like an amazing experience.
Yeah, definitely, man. I've been able to walk alongside some incredibly talented musicians, producers, be on stage and grace the stage with some of the biggest, greatest artists in the entire world, from the Caribbean and beyond, to actually produce and write for some of them, you know, to actually back them up. That's where we really got a lot of respect as a band. Actually, some persons had that the first person that actually put that trust in me to do that kind of work was rest in peace, God bless his soul, Neil Blyden, Mr. Mele. He used to own ZVCR 106.9, and he was a big promoter. He used to actually, people used to watch him like normal, think he's an average guy around here. He's just a guy on the radio. But he was big because he know a lot of guys in studios in New York and stuff. He used to actually manage the Apollo Theater in New York at one time.
Oh, wow.
So he was really big, you know. So he came with the idea. He said, "Listen, you guys are so talented, Doc. You're good at this thing, man. You have a natural knack." So he started to bring in people like Saucy, Denise Belfon, and these people, you know. And he said, "I'm going to bring them in, and I'm going to have you guys, since you're here, you live on Tortola. When we bring in these big artists, we're going to have you guys back them up." And I'm like, wow, that's a great opportunity. And these artists would come here and they would sing our praises, you know, like big us up so much. And it's a great feeling to grace the stage with them and actually have people put that trust in you. So that's why I always tell people to always do your best, because someone is always looking and they're going to see that the amount of discipline and the dedication and the commitment that you give to your craft, you know, that they're going to always pick out the good from the bad. That's why I always tell people to do your best.
Outside of the BVI, where is probably one of your favorite places you've ever played?
Trinidad and Tobago. After that, I shouldn't say after that. Right up there with that might sound strange, but Anguilla. Oh my God, Anguilla is phenomenal to perform.
I've heard good things, actually.
Trust me, let me tell you something, right? You will go to Anguilla to perform, right? And you'll be driving around all day, or you go to wherever a bar and you hardly seen anyone. When night come now and it's time for the gig, you want to know, wait, where did all these people come from? Because the place is so cock, it's ramp. And listen, man, I love Anguilla, man. And Anguilla is in my blood as well, because my grandmother was from Anguilla on my mom's side. So I have Anguilla in my blood as well. You know, I'm Anguilla in my blood. So I mean, the way they embrace you is different in Anguilla. Trust me. And anyone that's performed there will probably tell you the same thing. The way they embrace you and they show you that love is very different. You know, Trinidad and Tobago was an awesome experience. You know, just performing we were down there for like 10 days. We performed on board Trinidad and Tobago. Tobago was amazing as well. You know, we had persons like Calypso Rose and H2O Flow and these major big groups opening for us. And I remember playing on the stage and they were introducing it like, now introducing from the BVI, the super group. And I'm looking around like, what? And when we finished playing, like, you had people like pounding on the stage like more. And even the guys that own the sound system and stuff, they were like, listen, you guys are different. Like, we never heard anyone play music like that before. Like, they say most of the bands that play down there, their style is like when they come on the stage is flag and rag and that, you know, that kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
But we kind of give them that more groove and that walk-up style VI music mixed with it. And that kind of nice groovy thing mixed with the up-tempo stuff. We didn't kill them with too much up-tempo stuff, you know, like the Wild Out business. And they really appreciated it. They loved it. You know, Trinidad was an awesome experience. Miami was an awesome experience to the States, you know. But I would definitely say I would put Trinidad and Tobago and Anguilla at the top of that list.
Nice. So, seeing as you've been in the music industry so long and you've been playing the clubs, playing events and everything for so long, right now, currently in the BVI, it's kind of like this unspoken. Well, I can't say unspoken because people talk about it a lot. When you go out to a jam or a party or a fete or whatever you want to call it, this day and age, people just kind of like to lean up on the wall and they kind of just watching everybody else do their thing. And then you have those few people that really, really out to party that, you know, in the middle of the crowd, in the middle of the dance floor, doing the thing, having the fun, having a blast. Was it always like that back in the day when you were starting out? Like
No. Very, very, very far from it. And when I really started to get a little more time to actually go out, because I'm a person, first and foremost, I believe in supporting everyone else. I don't care which DJ, which band it is, could be a rival or a competitor. I go to everyone's event. You know what I'm saying? I always believe in that for years. So when I go to these events, when I do get time in between time to go to these events and I see some of what you're saying now, I'm kind of dumbfounded, you know? I'm confused, I'm perplexed because I've never seen that. Like, I'm not accustomed of seeing that because I think part of it has to do with the type of music and the style and the delivery that the bands especially do right now, because you have to learn to groove people. And I find a lot of the bands go out now, to be honest, not all of them, but most of them, is like they're playing for themselves. You have to learn to read the crowd. If you see the crowd is into a certain style or a groove, you have to learn to groove them and build the vibe. You know what I'm saying? Because different people like different things. And the next thing too is most bands aren't as diverse as they should be because they only maybe know how to play one style. And you have to understand that the Virgin Islands is a big melting pot. So we have pause. And my thing is, the reason why Xtreme was always so popular and so successful over the years is even on the road, when we used to run the road for those 10 plus years, or whatever the case is like we would have people from St. Vincent, Trinidad, wherever, even Rastafarians and things that don't really listen to Calypso because it's a vibe, it's an energy. And what we would do is I would always make sure to mix in some of their stuff with our stuff because you have to play what people love. At the end of the day, it's really not what you love per se. You could play your stuff, yeah, but if someone comes in from Barbados and they want to hear Biggie Irie, you gotta be able to throw down a Biggie Irie song. You know what I'm saying? To make them feel comfortable and make them feel, you know, part of your thing. So you have to be able to read your audience. And a lot of the time I look out because bands will be playing and they might even play one song or a rhythm that captures the crowd and then they switch it. And I'm looking up there at them on stage like, they must be crazy. They don't see the people into this thing. Like, why would you switch up? You have to read the crowd. You know, I think it's become part of the culture too where we used to go before, like even in the 90s, right? Things changed in the 2000s because it all has to do, people get accustomed to a certain thing. Like back in the 90s, any place was a jam for us, you know. Like it could have been a classroom in the school. It was a jam. It could have been the scout building. It could have been anywhere in the back of someone's yard. You know what I'm saying? It was a jam. Now, everyone kind of moving a little bit more bougie or sophisticated where
club kind of vibes.
If the place don't, the club kind of vibes. If the club don't have AC and they ain't getting served in a glass instead of plastic, they're not going. And persons get to the point now where they like to dress up, where you could have put on a t-shirt and jeans and any shoes or sneakers back in the day and go to a jam. Nobody wasn't watching face. They ain't watching what you're wearing. No. It's kind of more, seems to be based on more people standing out, watching what you're wearing. People are so westernized now into this brand thing where
it's like
they focus
show.
on what you're wearing. Yeah, it's kind of like a fashion show.
And a popularity contest.
Yes, you got it, brother. You got it. So there are persons, not everyone, but there's so many persons fixated and focused on the fashion show and the popularity contest that they're not even paying attention. They don't know how to have fun. There are a lot of persons that go out and you could watch them. They don't know how to have fun. They don't know how to free up and let loose themselves and have fun. And I go out to have fun. I want to dance. Like, even when I'm leaving home, right? Like, I might have an argument with my wife because when, like, listen, if the jam start in 9, I want to get there because I want to hear every DJ and every band. Most importantly, I love groovy stuff. I don't want to be jumping up and down, flinging elbow in no place. That's not me. That's not me. So I want to hear the groovy stuff. At least let me get to hear the first half hour, the 45 minutes of the band, whatever the case is. That's the sweetest part to me. That's just my personal preference.
Yeah. I like the groovy segment.
Exactly, and that's why I think that with Xtreme, we're still so successful and still could be requested and in demand and stuff, because when we go out and we deliver, we don't really focus, to be honest, on the wild out stuff and the high up tempo stuff too much, unless the situation calls for it. Other than that, we're gonna groove you, we're gonna jam you, and we're gonna hit you these different melodies. It's like that one. That's why I really love to work with Pascal. And I got to always big up Pascal because we worked together a lot over the years, and he's come and gone and stuff, and we working together again over the last few years, and we just gel, man. And we could go out and we could do a whole session and never have to practice because we don't even have to speak to each other, but we just gel so well. And I know I love to work with him because he knows how to command a crowd, and he knows if he looks out in the crowd and, like I said, he's paying attention to the crowd, they into this thing, he's going to look back, or he's going to give me a signal, Dirky, switch to this, or stick on that a little longer, let me groove then, let me get him like Pascal would take one rhythm or one melody and sing like a whole medley of songs.
Yeah,
and you'll be like,
it.
What? Yeah, so I love to work with persons like him, and especially Relo too, the bass player and stuff. Is like, man, we just have this thing where Ramon, the drummer, of course, big up all of them, man, big up bands too. It's like we just have this thing where, it's a groove and it's an energy, it's a sweetness. And I think a lot of the bands have issues. They're missing that sweetness in the music. They try so hard to impress, but the thing is, a lot of those persons you're trying to impress, I mean, do they even buy records, or do they download your stuff for free? Do they share a hard drive or a flash drive with your music? Like when they come out, for instance, I've had instances where, put it this way, right? The type of crowd that will come out to me and Xtreme and Pascal when we work together, when we play, is different from any other crowd. You will see persons, and I've had promoters come to me and say, Dirky, I've never seen these kind of people come down here to my place before, only when you guys here. And I say, well, I told you. And put it this way, I could bring 50 people to your place, right? And trust me, those 50 people that I bring could make you 4 to 5 times more than if someone else brings 100 people to your place. Because the type of person I'm bringing, they're not going to be rowdy. They spend their money, they have fun, they drink, they enjoy themselves, and it's always a great time.
I can attest to that. I've witnessed that before, watching you guys play.
Yeah, definitely. So is the energy, is the whole approach that we make. And to be honest, first and foremost, you gotta focus on the ladies. You gotta play sexy music, groovy music that the ladies love. At the end of the day, how long somebody could stand up and skin out and trash back, as they say, and whatever the case is, ain't nobody want to hear that all night.
It's true. And going back to Marsha Montano, like when I went to the show in Barbados last year, I had also brought my girlfriend with me last year because I was introducing her to the family and what's not. And I took her out to Marshall. It was the first time she saw Marshall also. And they had 2 separate lines to get in. It was one with males and then one with females. And it was me and my 3 male cousins. They had their posse also. And all of us, the males, we were in line for maybe 2 seconds. Boom, boom, they pat us down. We in through the gate. When the female line now, it was all the way till the parking lot still. We had to wait a good 20 minutes before my girlfriend got in. Like the ratio of man to woman in this party was literally like, for every 1 man, it had 10 women.
Yeah, I trust me. I've been to many of those, so I know exactly what you're saying, man. And I always encourage people, right, that one of the most important things you could ever have in this life is a passport.
Facts.
And people ask me why. I say, listen, right, when you actually get out there, and I've been traveling, and when I say traveling, not with your parents, I mean on your own, or like with friends, or whatever the case is, actually getting out there into the world. I've been traveling from time I was like still in high school and just getting out of high school. I used to travel and go in. I don't know if you know Myron Kunta, that sells stuff. He used to be like big in like selling T-shirts and CDs. He was the person to get your Jam Man T-shirt from or Jam Man CD from. And I used to go to the States with him and stuff, Atlanta and Miami and New York and all these places. And that time I'm like 16, 17 years old. So like you get to see these things. And then when I start traveling otherwise now and going to different places, because I've been out through the Caribbean and all around the world. And when the greatest thing is to actually experience other cultures and see how other people fit, how they party compared to us, because you could always learn something from someone else, right?
Very true.
And the way that other person's party in other countries is vastly different from here. Like they don't watch no face. Nobody ain't studying that. Nobody got time for that. People just want to have fun, have a good time. I've been places where like if you go to like a breakfast fete, or they have fetes where they go from 8 in the night till 8 in the morning, or 10 in the night till 10 the next morning. Stuff like that. Yeah, okay then. So you understand.
They start at 10 at night and they finish 10 in the morning. And it's like you pretty much walk in the whole of Tatola about 5 times before the night end. But you don't even feel it. You don't even be tired.
Exactly. But that's why I tell people to like, I hear a lot of people in there talking like, oh, they want to go Trinidad and play mass. I say, listen, playing mass in those countries is very different from playing mass here, because if you think you could exert all your energy in 20 minutes or a half hour, like how you do here, when you go down there, you better learn the chip.
Facts. Like we always make it a thing in Barbados that we either pick to go parade or we pick to go Juve, but we know for sure we cannot do both. It's impossible.
Yeah, you can't do both. Yeah, it's impossible to do both. I think most persons are like that.
10 times out of 10, Juve always wins though.
Well, definitely. I would pick the Juve as well.
Not just because, the parade is a lot of fun and a lot of big fit and thing too, but you see that Barbados hat son? That's something different.
No, trust me. I know Barbados. I don't know, for some reason, I've walked around down there and stuff, and I'm like, listen, this sun for some reason is on a different level for real.
Listen, you see like how California always got their wildfires and thing. That's a regular thing in Barbados too. During the summer, sugarcane fields always on fire, same way. That's a regular thing. That's how hot it is in Barbados, and they are accustomed during the summer of facing droughts and stuff. That's not usually like during hurricane season. That's why they don't really on a regular get hit with hurricanes. I think because of how far south they are. Like all the clouds just basically pass them by. Once in a while they might get a little something, but they definitely ain't in that direct line.
Yeah, it's definitely a whole different experience there, man.
So
I really happy to hear that at a really young age you out there experiencing these things, man. That's really cool. I encourage so many other young people to get out there. Don't just be killing yourself, walking. You got to live a little and go out and explore the world. You know what I'm saying? Go all around the world. There's so much to see, so much to do. I tell people all the time, there's so much more than what you see right in front of you.
True.
What you see right in front of you is not even remotely close to what's out there.
And I started traveling on my own since I was about around 16 or so. I had always used to travel with my parents and stuff, because my mother used to carry me to Barbados at least once a year, and then with my father and my aunt, we used to go States and them type of things. But from the time I hit like around 16 and stuff, I've been traveling on my own. I'll go different places. I've been to the States by myself or with friends. This year I planned on going someplace new that I had never been before, but Corona put a halt on that, obviously, unfortunately.
Yeah, man.
But it is what it is. Hopefully,
it is what it is.
By next year, the place become a little bit more free up and I'm able to take some more trips. But it definitely got some places I want to go to. Like, one of the weird things is, and we live so close to it, but I've never been outside of St. Martin's Airport before.
Wow. And St. Martin is an incredible place, both French and Dutch side.
It's literally 30 minutes away.
Yeah, and it's like, listen, the nightlife on St. Martin is incredible.
I was actually planning to go there for my birthday this year, but my birthday, the lockdown started literally 1 week before my birthday. When we went into full lockdown. So I couldn't even make that St. Martin trip.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Right now, especially with these curfew and things, you could barely make it from home to the store. You talking about traveling?
Facts. Well, I mean, I don't have that problem in any yada because we ain't gonna traffic and what's not.
Yeah. Of course, I know.
I catch what you're saying though.
I envy you right now.
So okay, what I want to talk to you about now is like during like those prime years with Extreme, like when you guys were basically running a road. I think that's around the same time when they had like Showtime going on. So you had Boss and Jugu.
Yeah. Those
So-
they were one of our direct rivals
Competitor.
or
Yeah, of course.
biggest competitors. After a while, before them it was prime time because when they left prime time, you know how it is. There's always some kind of animosity in between there. So I kind of had to spank them a little bit and show them what time it is. So said so done. I was like, listen, I took you up, I'll take you down.
Fair enough. But
And-
like, I think you watch basketball, right? The NBA and stuff, right?
Yeah. I ain't heavy in it, but I do watch it.
So like, you could compare the rivalry between like Extreme and Showtime for like on the road for Juve and stuff. That's pretty much like the Warriors versus when LeBron was on the Cavaliers. They were in the
Yes.
finals every year. They were going head to head. That's the two competitors.
Yes.
You know it was going to be one or the other.
Yes, facts.
What was that experience like? Basically, like facing up to like a super team because you had Boss and Jugu on the same band.
Yeah. Well, it was always fierce competition, and I never took it lightly. I used to always tell the rest of the members in the band, don't ever become complacent, because you don't ever underestimate your opponent, ever, because they might come up with something so fresh and so unique that you may not be expecting. So the thing is, I always come with the A game, but when it comes to the road, I was known as like the road god around here for so long because I ran the road from prime time days in the 90s straight up to extreme days in the 2000s. You know what I'm saying? So it's like every year, like people used to actually come from St. Croix and St. Thomas and St. John and Virginia and all over just to see the clashes on Juve here because Juve Rise and Shine in the BVI and Tortola, we always have clashes. And that's the highlight of the Rise and Shine of the Juve. So we always used to have clashes, and I always had the biggest, baddest song system on the road. So people even used to come from all over other parts of the Caribbean as well, just to see, well, what Dirky coming with, what is Extreme coming with this year? What kind of song system? Let's see what he has this year, and then those guys would eventually try to match up to what I was doing. So there was always this huge rivalry. So the rivalry actually went beyond just music and clashing. The rivalry went to like bragging rights for the best and the biggest song system and all of these things, if you understand what I'm saying. It was so intense. And I know those guys, I know them quite a long time. I actually know Boss and Jugu years before I even went in prime time or they even formed Showtime. I know those guys from way back, But I never took them, I never said, listen, these guys ain't ready. I always look at them as serious competition, but I was always ready for them, cause I would spend so much money. I would invest to make sure I have the best song system, have the best generator, put in my work with the rhythm and the arrangements and stuff. So it was a fierce rivalry, and it is what it is. The rest is history.
But I mean, I love that a rivalry push you guys to do those kind of things, investing more in sound systems and stuff, because not only is it good for you as the band, but it's great for the fans because now they get to witness the best quality of the product that you're giving them.
Of course, big facts, of course.
And the more you pushing each other, like the rivalry is like the better music you're going to put out, which again is just the best thing for the fans.
Exactly, and that's why I always told people. So, like, the weirdest thing though, like you had fans that every year would take this thing. So I've had like diehard fans actually guard my trailers for me. That kind of way, like look for me by my house and say, "What time is that on the trailer?" And they would literally come there, brother, and sleep or like be by the trailer and guard it, thinking like that's how serious fans take this thing. Like we've had issues where us as bandmen, as musicians, we good. Even though we had our rivalry and maybe during festival, those 2 weeks we don't really talk much because it's, how it is. But, when it's all said and done, we good. We put on a game face. But the fans now, they would take it to this other level. Like fans would have more rivalries than us. They would actually take it to the streets, get physical, these kind of things. And, sometimes we would have to intervene and stuff like that. So it used to get kind of crazy because you'd be surprised how serious people take this thing.
Of course.
It's just like anywhere else, you look at soccer, look at like people talk about basketball and American football. Listen, that's nothing compared to football, meaning soccer in other parts of the world. You go to Europe, you go to Africa. Listen, they literally will kill you. Like you see stampedes. Man, it's crazy. They take sports to another level. Like in Brazil and all those countries as well, and South America, they take sports to another level. Music is the same way too.
It's true. I mean, even looking at like international artists like rappers and stuff, look at Cardi B fans versus Nicki Minaj fans. They'll spend all day arguing on Facebook.
Yeah, definitely. and they have no shares in any other property or splits of the masters or anything, and that always freaks me out.
Facts. I always see like,
I believe in minding the business that pays me,
Yep. I always scroll on Facebook and you see this little post and they'll be like, which millionaire do you define like you have a share in their business? And I'll be like, not a one.
And that's the same thing I relate to, like even like gear, like clothing. And my thing is like you will see someone spend their last dime just to continue making these multi-billionaire conglomerates and companies richer. Like you spending all of this money and you making sure you have this certain name across your chest or on your bag. You making them richer. By the end of the day, you don't even have $1,000 on your bank account. So it's like, what's the big deal?
True.
But to each his own. I didn't really judge anybody. To each his own.
All right, I got one more music question for you, and then we can move on to politics a little bit.
No problem.
So, okay, obviously you've been doing music for, you said about 25 years professionally. So you've been through different eras of music and you've seen music for what it is and how it's changed over the years. Do you have a favorite era of music, like 80s, 90s, 2000s?
Yeah, definitely. Right off of the bat, 90s. 90s, the 90s was the golden era of everything. When I mean the golden era, those were the years because it was so much more 90s and early 2000s, early to mid 2000s. That was the golden era, brother, because that's like musicians used to have so much more pride. Everything was so much more authentic. Everyone was so much more disciplined. After a while, it became so watered down. And I remember when I was coming up, you had to be so skilled and so talented. Most importantly, you had to be original, meaning you could hear Extreme from miles away and know it's Extreme. You could hear Caribbean Ecstasy, you could hear Jam Man, you could hear Imagination Brass, 17 Plus. We could go on, and you know who it was. Can you do that right now with all of these bands? I guarantee you not.
Not really. I mean, some people who like diehards that really like listen to the music, like me. Like if I hear a song, I could tell you which band it is before the singer even sing a word. But
that's the song. But I talking about if they're out performing or whether they're on the road, whether they're on a stage from far. Can you tell 100% of the time which band or which group that is off of the rip?
Not 100% of the time. I think,
okay then.
I think I could get it right 8 times out of 10 though.
But you see my point, right?
Yeah, I definitely get it for sure.
This is what I'm saying. And this is why the music industry on a whole, it's in the hole that it's in right now, because it's the lack of aggression with the music, the lack of authenticity, the lack of originality, the lack of innovation. You understand? Because you had to be so exceptionally talented in those days that you had to be original, So it's like unless you had your own song, like people used to laugh at you if you were into biting, if you were into copying another person's style, man, you would be laughed at. Like what we would say around here, you get wrought up.
Yeah.
Man, listen, people will be dissing you the real way. No, biting is cool all of a sudden. No, copying another person's style is cool. No, everyone's song in the same is cool. And I just can't get with that.
You're very right.
But these are just my personal feelings, So
I agree with you actually. And I had a Wiz on the podcast before this one, and I asked him the same question, which era he liked, and he basically gave the same answer for the same reasons.
Man, listen, right? I'll even go further than that, right? Back then, like you would hire a band, and every band had their own. Like even the village, you go in the village, right, for festival time. Every band used to walk with their own song system, you know. Like you would see jam man haul their speakers up on native Sun Ferry coming up from St. Namas to play the village tonight. You know,
Crazy.
like you would drive down there all now when those guys down there wiring up everything, and the stage was made out of wood. And back then, it was so more authentic. Look at it. Back then, right, every single night in the village was cock and ram and full of people. So how come now you can't get the village full every night? And you have these big elaborate stages, and for all these hundreds of thousands of dollars you're renting them for, and big elaborate pyrotechnics and lighting and roof and all of these things. What does that tell you?
The music. It's definitely comes down
Exactly.
to the music. Because I'll look at the schedule and I'll tell you straight up, yeah, me ain't going Tuesday, me ain't going Thursday.
Exactly.
Maybe I'll take a pass on Friday. I might pass by the gate and see if it's full, and maybe I'll head in. Or yeah, that kind of
Exactly, because a lot of entertainers and bands don't understand too, right? My thing is this, right? When I go to a fete, like we've been talking about artists like Marshall Montano and stuff, right? Like the ultimate marquee performers. And then when you go to a gig now, you go to a fete, you spend your money, and I don't care what it is. It could be $20, it could be 40, it could be 50, it could be 100, 200, whatever, right? If I come to your show and you are on the stage and you are telling me hand in the air, hand in the air, and you on the stage standing up still or swaying from side to side like you are old man in his 80s. Yo, I just paid this money to come in here. You put your hand in the air. You understand?
Facts.
And then let me feel that energy, that vibe off of you, and then maybe I'll put my hand in the air. You understand what I'm
Yep.
saying?
I
But you
agree with
can't
that.
just be up there and you're not entertaining, you're not energetic, you're not interacting with the crowd. You know, it's like, nah, it's a waste of time.
One thing that I would love to see come back from the 90s is the quality of lyrics.
Big facts. That is my single biggest issue. And you know, I have some guys in different bands and groups and different artists that, trust me, like I've made posts publicly on social media about these things for years now, and I always catch a lot of flack for it. You know, some people say, "Oh, why you don't go write a book? You know, you feel you know everything." I like, listen, I don't feel I know a thing. I know what is crap. I know what is garbage from what's good. So my thing is the like, okay, the structure will always change, right? Like the music all parents listen to, we don't necessarily want to hear. You know, I don't expect my daughter to want to listen to the stuff I listened to when I was her age, whatever the case is, right? Eras change, and I'm good with that, and I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. You know, with the evolution and the change in eras. But one thing that should never change is quality lyrics, substance.
Yes.
So you get some really great rhythm, some really great production, but then the lyrics are crap. And then they don't even listen. These songs that a lot of people put out now, they don't even have a bridge in the song, or they sing one verse and then they repeat the same verse again and then the chorus and that's it. It's like, where's the structure? There's no structure and there's no substance lyrically.
That's one
So
thing
I
that I like
totally agree with
Jugu
you.
for. Yeah, I like Jugu's music for that still, because I feel like when he writes his songs, it's not just about making you walk up or whatever. It might have like the catchiest, most fun hook.
Yes.
But when he go
No,
into his
he
verses,
has a really good approach. He has a really good approach because, like you say,
Yeah.
he knows how to blend it well. You know, even though because he knows at the end of the day the kind of era we just passed an era over the last few years where everybody was based on a specific band, and we all know who that band is, right? Everybody tried to emulate that band, but now you get to the
You talking
point
about
where
Stylee?
it's we talking about Stylee because, and I have enough respect to Swanks and that man, but at the end of the day, I love those guys. I love what they did for the culture and what they contributed. But what I hate is that every single one turn around and
to
try
be
to
like them.
emulate them. Those guys
Yes.
had their own song, and I love and respect them for them. What I
That's
really
facts.
dislike is all the other bands following them. Why are you following them? That's their song. Stop biting Swanks. Stop trying to song like Kylo. Stop trying to song like Sha. Stop trying to song like Pompa. That is ridiculous. Any artist that tries to emulate and song exactly like another artist should be ashamed of themselves. You could look up to that artist. You could take certain things from their performance and take it and put your own spin on it. But the second you try to song exactly like them, the second you try to produce music songing exactly like them, you've already lost, man.
You absolutely right. You absolutely right.
And that's just facts, you know, that's the way it is. You know, so a lot of them lost their way. And you see, is acceptance, you know. What people accept, when you see the music is degraded to a certain point where people accept any and everything as music, that's where you have a problem. So now people started to feel, for some reason, musicians have started to feel, I guess, like they can just put out anything and people will rock with it. But that's not so. It doesn't work like that. Not because you see another artist get away with it, that means you gonna get away with it, because people hold other people to different standards, you know. Because you might be an artist, right? What they let another artist get away with, they mightn't let you get away with it. And that's because they know you're capable of better. So do better. If you know better, do better. Simple as that.
Very true. So real quick before we move on to the politics, if there's any young musicians listening to the podcast right now, up and coming musicians, or they want to form a band, or they're in a band, but maybe they feel like they're not getting the popularity, or they're not getting booked for gigs or anything, or people just saying listening to the music, you have any advice for those people?
Sure. Do your own thing. Stop depending on other persons. And I would like to say to the bands, especially the young bands or young artists, stop waiting on promoters. Promoters are not your friends. Festival and carnival committees are not your friends. And no one owes you anything. Go out and create your own buzz. Why can't all y'all get together and say, okay, let's hold an event. Go up on the beach and put some speakers together, even if not the biggest song system, and play for free. Build your fan base. I could go back and tell you, even as far back as Jam Band days, Jam Band used to get flop every single gig. And they're saying something, Kelly has told me this, Freddie has told me this, these are guys I work with personally. They used to get flop every single gig. When I started Xtreme, you know what I did? When I used to have basketball games there in the old court, where is a multipurpose complex now, I used to set up in Al Scotland parking lot across the road, and as the game done, boom, music, sell some drinks, make a little money, invest back in the band. I used to go down by the horse track in Seagulls Bay, and not on the track itself, down the road by the road, they had a guy named Ian Watkins. He was unfortunately murdered as well. He had a bar there. He was a good friend of mine. He called us, said, "Dog, he come set up down here." As horse race finished, boom, we set up, and this guy ended up making so much money. He paid us for the gigs. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to go outside the box. I used to go on the beach and throw my own beach jams. So you have to do things for yourself. It's going to be hard, yes, but everything takes sacrifice. Once you build in a brand, it's going to be hard. There are going to be people that laugh at you. There are going to be people that ridicule you. Could be your friends and your family. But you have to have that ambition. You have to have that tenacity. And you have to have that testicular fortitude to push forward regardless. Do you want it or do you not want it? If you're going to be serious about this thing, you have to tell yourself you have to invest. You have to tell yourself you're going to put aside running down a ton of women, spending money on other stuff. You might have to have 2 pairs of sneakers instead of 8. You know what I'm saying? For a couple months, but invest in your craft. Push yourself and stop waiting on everyone to come to you. Go to other persons. Go and talk to Jugu. Come and talk to me. Go and talk to Bass. Go and talk to whoever. Say, listen, I doing music. You have any advice for me? What do you think I should do? Boop, boop, boop. Okay, go and practice. Get your craft together. Don't think that anyone should hire you just because you're an artist, just because you are local, just because you have a band. You have to build some kind of buzz on your own for people to take notice. Then you could expect someone to say, okay, yeah, man, they build a nice little buzz. They got some vibes. Let's give them a chance. But don't expect half of the rip everyone to just give you a chance just for giving you a chance. It doesn't work like that. And the sooner you learn that, the better. Because it's no different here from in the States. You look at people like Bob Marley and these guys. They went on promotional tours all through the UK and didn't make a dime to build their brand. And that's one of the biggest bands and artists in the entire world.
Yep, to this day, everybody know Bob Marley songs.
Yeah, and I could go on and on and on. So these are just small references, but my advice to them is just go and do it, man. And it's no walk in the park. Let me tell everybody something that's listening to this, right? That's going to listen to this. Never expect a warm welcome. Not everyone is going to embrace you and show you love and show you kindness and respect. And you have to be prepared for that. Just do what you have to do and worry about the fame and all that other stuff later. That stuff will come. Even the money will come. Put in the work. Have a solid work ethic and be disciplined.
Great advice. I like it. Love it. All right. So getting into politics now. You ran for the last election, which was last year? Only last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was when? February 2019? Yeah.
February, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you started off running for the 5th district, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you ended up turning at large.
Yes, sir.
Why did you decide to run for the 5th? Why did you decide to run, period, in general, for the 5th district?
Mm-hmm.
And then what pushed you to switch to at large later on?
Sure, that's no problem. So I initially ran for the 5th district, which is the district that I'm originally from and that I've lived all my life up until a few years ago. I live country now, but I grew up and everything and live all my life in the 5th district. And it was a situation where 5th district was without a representative because of, one, the untimely demise of the representative, Honorable Dolores Christopher, rest in peace. At the time, she died, she passed away. So we had no representation, and for years had already passed, and we felt everybody in the district like we were so neglected. And the 4th and 5th districts were two of some of the most, vastly devastated districts from the hurricane.
Yeah.
From Irma.
I was actually
and we had issues before.
Humptom's gut when Irma passed through.
Okay, so you know all too well.
Yeah, I was pretty much in the worst possible place I could have been.
Yeah, man. So it's like when Irma passed through the 4th and 5th districts, man, it's like that. She just passed directly over those districts. And like when you came outside, it nearly looked like someone had dropped a huge atomic bomb or something in the area,
That is completely accurate. That's exactly what it had looked like.
Yeah. Exactly. You know me, I gonna keep it all the way real. And it's like, man, we don't have any representative. And to me, other persons weren't stepping up to the plate because I was like, listen, if someone from a district passes away, right? We have 4 at-large representatives. How come they didn't step up? I was really kind of disappointed in some of them because of that. Not saying that they didn't try to, because I'm not sure. But I just felt like, and I ran for the 5th because for years previous to that, a lot of persons, elders, and young people in the district, people always have looked to me as, a young progressive person and a born leader. So they were like, listen, we think you'll be a great representative. Would you consider this? So I was like, you know what? Sometimes in life, I kind of feel like the only regret I would have is having had the chance to make a difference and I didn't even try. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
So I'm like, man, I have to at least try. So I went ahead and did my thing. But then the switch came because I started making my wrongs, and a lot of things that I was pushing for the 5th district, a lot of persons started coming to me. Like I would be outside my house washing down my vehicle over the case, and like, man, people stop me on the road. People stop me everywhere. Like, listen, man, you genuine, you're real. We really wish that you would consider running at large because we definitely will give you this vote. And it's like, with so many persons, and I was like, you know what, I'll consider it. And then I was like, you know what, the race for the 5th were getting kind of weird to me, to be honest, man. And it's like, you know what, let me give this at large thing a shot. And at the end of the day, I was like, the whole thing was really me just getting my feet wet in a political arena, to be honest, because I wasn't sure what the outcome would have been. And remember, I was kind of like a loner out there, even though I was like with a very small group, it was still kind of like I'm an independent on my own kind of vibe.
Pretty much.
So I wasn't I was on my own or by myself, basically. So I was like, man, you know what? But I'm going to just stay true to myself. I'm going to stick with the issues. I never bashed anyone. I stuck to the issues. I came up with viable options and sustainable solutions, and that's stuck in people's mind. But, you know how it is. The BVI is kind of still stuck with this people choosing to go down party lines, and there were 2 main parties and I wasn't with any one of them. There were several parties that approached me, but for some reason, my gut told me not to do it for some reason. And my mother always told me to follow your instincts. So I just did it, and I have no regrets because I put my name out there, I put my ideas out there, I kept it real, I was genuine and truthful and honest through everything. Like I said, I didn't smear anybody or try to bash anyone. I did it clean, and I got a really tremendous amount of support. And I thank everybody for that support. And to this day, everybody still, and even a lot of the representatives that are elected now, a good few amount of them call me and message me. They're like, listen, we paid attention to everything you did. I have senators from the USVI and other Caribbean countries getting in contact with me. Say, listen, we've been following you through the whole of your campaign. Your energy and your genuine vibes is just, we never seen anything like this here. And it's like, man, we wish you all the best and we think you have a bright future ahead of you. So I'm like, okay, cool, So like I say, I was just putting up myself genuinely to represent my people because, for my district, like I say, was really stuck in a run. And, I branched out into the at-large thing from there because people from Virgin Garda to US Van Dyke to Antigua and stuff were encouraging me and telling me, listen, all the different districts, Chutatol as well, were encouraging me. So I say, okay, let's give it a shot and see what happens, And it was an awesome experience. I'm going to tell no lies. It was a really awesome experience. I got, people invited me. Well, this is a regular thing too, I've sat on person's bed with them and speak with them on the porch. People invited me, embraced me, called me into their homes and stuff. So it was a great experience getting out there to see even more persons than before. And, everybody loved the vibes.
The fact that when you did all that, like going on people's, like sitting on people's beds with them, having those intimate conversations, talking to people on the porch and stuff, a few months ago that was pretty regular, right? But right now, the fact like when you were just saying that, like that just terrified me so much because of Corona.
Yeah.
All I'm thinking about is me going into somebody else's house to go sit on their bed to talk. Nah.
Yeah.
That's crazy how the world has changed.
Yeah, listen, and who would have ever thought that in our lifetimes we would see a situation or experience a situation like this? Because this COVID-19, this coronavirus pandemic, this situation now is basically stopped the whole world in its tracks, and it's put the world stood still.
Pretty much. Well, except for places so like Japan, pretty much was living life like normal because when listen, they experienced
a lot of persons
flu.
living life like normal. It's only us here we one of the persons. Well, I guess we kind of behind the 8 ball because it's the first time for us. But a lot of other countries experience SARS and Spanish flu and all these different things before H1N1 and all this stuff. So they are caused some of this stuff. Because if you look at places like Taiwan, Taipei City, and those places, they have kept look at their size and their population. As well as Japan and other places, and they've kept their numbers down because they sprung into action quickly. They didn't wait. They were already customer wearing face masks and all these
a lot
things
of those places
and doing
kind
kind of social
distancing. They didn't even have to make any
distancing.
real changes. They just pretty much did what they were already doing because Japan has been wearing face masks on a regular basis. It's been normal to them for 100 years since they had the Spanish flu in 1920.
Yeah, exactly. And when you go to places, different provinces and stuff in China, and the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. That's basically it, and it's like I say, it was a really great experience. I got to really get out there, and other people's stories really touched me, and I just genuinely put myself up because I'll be totally honest, right? I still didn't then, and I still don't now consider myself a politician, not in the traditional sense. I do think that I would make an exceptional representative for any district or at large, but I'm not a politician in the traditional sense at all.
And that's fine as long as you ain't a Donald Trump type, because he's not a politician.
No. No. That's a whole other pot of fish there.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I think you did pretty good for running for your first time, and especially with the party that you did run with, because it was a brand new party. It was a small party.
Yep.
I mean, I voted for you actually. I don't know if I had ever told you that, but I remember.
I appreciate that.
You came on Nigara and we had a little chat, and I was like, I can give you the chance. Like, I feel like putting you in there, it would at least shake things up in a sense from. You said, you're not a politician in the traditional ways, and I think we needed something like that, somebody who's not a politician in those traditional ways.
Yeah, definitely, man. Because a lot of them go in there and they intend to be career politicians as well,
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, at the end of the day, we still have a few, genuine ones in there. Not all, but we have to make the best of it because we have who we have, and we just. My whole thing is right. Regardless of who gets elected, I just really wish more persons would be critical thinkers and think for themselves and just hold them to the fire. Whichever government, whoever you choose to be your representative, and even wherever country you're from, hold them accountable. Because at the end of the day, the power lies with the people, not them. Politicians, representatives work for us, not the other way around. If anything, politicians should fear the people, not the other way around.
I agree. Do you think
It's as simple as that,
do
man.
you think if you did run with one of the larger parties, it might have had a bigger chance on you getting in?
Yes, definitely. And like I was saying a while ago, I've had persons that are actually sitting ministers and stuff in government right now, call me, and congratulate me and say, you see, that's the next thing. Always do your best. Like I even spoke about with the performance, with the music, do your best and be true to yourself, because I have persons in that are ministers in government and stuff, and they message me or call me and say, listen, I'm proud of you, the kind of the stuff that you did, the campaign you ran, telling me I'm a natural at this thing, and they hope to see me in the future and whatnot. And I've definitely been told by endless persons that if I had run with one of the more popular parties or one of the top two parties, it would have been, more or less a victory.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, we see what happens going into the future. I always, I'm a patriot first and foremost at heart. So I love my country, I love my people, and if there's a need and the people want me to solve them, I have no problem.
So with that being said, you do plan on running again for election going forward?
Yes, I think that's a definite. I consider at this point. How the approach and how it's gonna be done, with who and all of that stuff, that's kind of up in the air, because my thing is, man, I really wish persons would change their mentality. But like I say, I personally don't really believe in the party thing per se. I personally have never voted for one full party in my life.
Well, last election was my
You know-
first time voting, and I didn't vote for the full party.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because what I would do is I would listen attentively. I will listen to your platform. What platform are you running on? Listen to the whole nine and everything, pay attention. And I would say, listen, I would pick the individuals who I think would be the best to represent the country and to represent me from a district point of view and an at-large point of view. And it's as simple as that. So I wish more people would think like that, and it's not knocking anyone, but sometimes I think like having too many persons out of one party is kind of dangerous.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that next. Without being too specific, were you a little bit, or were you disappointed with the outcome of the election, seeing as it was in like a huge majority one party?
Yes. I was disappointed of the fact that there were more options last election than ever in the history, I think, of the Virgin Islands, election process. And I think, like I say, not disrespecting anyone or bashing anyone, but I think it should have been a little bit more,
A little bit more
diverse than what it is now. Yeah. And I would have been happier with it being a little bit more diverse. But like I say, it is what it is. So with who we have in there, we just have to hold them accountable. And, we have to make sure that they do what needs to be done on behalf of the people. But at the end of the day, no matter how much you try to lobby or how much you try to pressure, it's up to them. So if they don't do the work on behalf of the people, and if we see it end up to be a case of 6 or 1/2 does it and the next again, then we know what to do. But I was disappointed. It may not be exactly how I wanted it to be, but I respect the process. Simple
I
as that.
myself was disappointed also, and a lot of people thought I would be really happy because I was pretty much campaigning a lot with the Green team. Like, at least, especially publicly, I did like speeches with Vincent. I publicly endorsed Vincent and Shireen for sure. And
and there's nothing wrong with that.
But the thing that most disappointed me was I felt like we had a super weak opposition. And that's not to disrespect who was in the opposition, but I wanted strong people in the opposition because I didn't want that the Green Team had so much power that they could just get up and do whatever they really wanted to do. I wanted somebody to be in there to hold them accountable.
Exactly. And you see the dangers of that, you know, and not to get too specific, but there are certain things that I've seen played out and I'm seeing being played out now that speaks towards that. And that's the danger, because the problem, right, with power, not everyone can handle it. And hence the term absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Facts.
If you understand. So who is going to really check these persons? You know, who's going to really check them? And even a lot of persons that might be advocates, you know, come out and say and fight for the rights of persons. You know, people like to do this thing, especially when you're in a small community or territory. They label you. They say you're crazy. They say you're a troublemaker.
Radical.
You know, these kind of things. You're radical. You're a rebel. They've said those things about me. Some, you know, but politicians, some of them try to say those things. But at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is. But you need people like that, because I don't ever want, like, it's like if you have family or friends, do you really want everyone around you to agree with everything you say and never challenge you?
Of course not.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't want a bunch of yes men and women around me.
Exactly.
Even if you have your girlfriend or your wife, if my wife was to agree with everything I say, there's something wrong with her. I got trade in this woman.
Exactly. I highly agree with you. Highly agree with you.
Something is wrong with that. And that goes back to the point where you said that's what I was really concerned about as well, because a very strong opposition is a necessity. Not a want, but a need. You need a strong opposition. And when you have too much of one party in a majority government, and depends on who else gets elected in the, you know, that ends up in an opposition, you know what can happen. And to be honest, you're gonna continue to see certain things like the civil liberties and constitutional rights of persons being trampled on. You're gonna continue to see certain behaviors that lean more towards a certain type of society versus a democratic society. These are the dangers in these things.
Well, to be honest,
like even during the pandemic, right? Well, I call it the pandemic, right? Even through situations like this, right? It's like you see certain moves being made, and it's kind of like, you know, I sit and I watch it, and I'm like, I think that this is for a lot of, and I'm not just speaking in terms of the BVI, and I'm speaking in general terms right now as well. All around the world, this situation is a lot of representatives and politicians' wet dream. This is like a dream come true for them, because they get to have a lot of us. When I say us, I mean the general public, as guinea pigs. This is their opportunity to say, we're going to use this opportunity now to say, okay, how far are they willing to let us go? How far can we take this?
Definitely giving dictatorship kind of vibes.
But exactly. That's what I'm talking about. And there's no one that can tell me right now that a lot of that they don't feel that way. But you see, we live in a society where, unfortunately, it's very small, like here in the BVI, and people are afraid. But you see me, my back so broad, I'm not afraid, because what else can you do to me? What else can you say about me that hasn't been said? What can you say? You know what I'm saying? I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of any human being, because we all bleed alike. All of them are not going to be in the positions they are in forever. So at the end of the day, I'm going to continue to be a voice for the voiceless.
As you should.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not afraid of anyone. I don't care who it is. I'm not afraid of them. I'm going to speak up, because there's certain persons. But then we have a lot of hypocrites as well, because you have some persons that will come to me or come to you and say, hey, bam, bam, bam. But then, well, okay, if that's how you feel, why don't you say it then? Oh, you're afraid. But then they go quiet. They go quiet once they get something that they want.
Very true.
You understand? They get a little contract, they go quiet.
Very true.
You understand? They get a job for the spouse, the wife, they go quiet. You know, these aren't real people. You have to understand that. Be careful. There's a difference between an activist and a lobbyist, you know. There's a huge difference. And a lot of these persons that pretend to be activists, they're lobbyists. They only want things done specifically that will benefit them or someone related to them or a friend. Once they get what they want, it's like to hell with the rest of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, you're very right. Okay, so This next question, I'm going to break it into two parts, right? Basically,
Sure.
I want to know, how do you feel about how the current government has been so far? But I want you to tell me your thoughts before the pandemic, and like, how have they handled the country before the pandemic, and how do you think they're currently handling things now with the pandemic?
I think before the pandemic, there really wasn't too much going on in terms of, this pandemic has totally thrown, a monkey wrench in everybody's plans. So it's a lot to deal with regardless of which government was in. We have to
Definitely.
give Jack the jacket, right? But at the end of the day, I'll say this, right? One thing I'm really tired of hearing is listening to elected representatives complain. Complain about this. I'm like, listen, you knew the job when you took the job.
Yeah, you
if
asked
you
for
go
it.
and you walk on the, if you go and you take a job driving a truck, you know what came with driving a truck. So if you're a politician and you get elected, why we got to hear you complaining in the House of Assembly? Why we got to hear you complaining about this and that? You knew the job that you took when you took the job. So that's the first thing, right? But I mean, certain moves were made that kind of made me look at government a little funny, because I'm like, okay, when you were on the other side, some of them, you had so much to say about, who's allegedly, and I have to use the word allegedly, you have to be careful, who was allegedly corrupt and all these things. And then you turn around and you make moves like, we have so much pertinent issues, socially, economically, and all this stuff. And one of the first moves you make is to waive tendering process to give contracts and consultancy
Yeah.
to your friends
Very
and your
controversial
very
decisions.
ministers and stuff. Yeah, and that's one of the very first things you do. And then the next one of the very first things you do on these different boards for these agencies and statutory bodies, you increase the stipend for them. You got government employees that haven't gotten their what you call it, in how many years?
Increments and what's not.
The increments and stuff. For how many years? And then I saw something in the news some day ago where, okay, you want to increase the packages now for farmer legislatures. I'm like, really? When you laying off persons that work in government and statutory bodies and agencies and stuff, taking half pay during pandemic and all this
Like
stuff,
me.
when you going to take a half pay? When you going to take a half pay?
I'm an airport supervisor, and I basically make a minimum wage right now.
But this is what I'm telling you. So how come you can cut the salary for all of these persons that are needed, but you increasing the stipend for board members and increasing the salaries for management of these places? I don't understand it. And then you want to talk about packages. If you know the job that you take while you're in there, you realize some of these elected representatives, they're getting a couple $1,000s a month for housing allowance and stuff to live in their own homes. But you have to struggle to pay your little rent and stuff and buy your food. Okay, so fine. You took a job. You're getting your $100,000 a year, your $120,000 a year if you're a minister, whatever the figure is, with your allowances and everything. You're getting entertainment allowance, all these things. You go to the bank, you don't have to stand up in line. You have a concierge and all that stuff assigned to you. All of these different perks and stuff, right? Gas and all this, something to drive and all of this stuff. Okay, fine. So you mean to tell me that when you leave there now, we were paying you to do that job, and when you leave, you think it's fair for the average man and woman to work until they're 65 years or work 33 and a 30 years in central government just to get a pension, and you could just do 8 years and you go home and get a pension for the rest of your life, and now you crying and saying that, oh, the allowances that come along with it, you don't get that, you only get a base salary. You know the job when you took the job. So at the end of the day, why the average person has to go through all of this, and you go through, you work and we paid you. My thing is, we paid you and we are paying you for all of these years. So you mean to tell me that the average person has to go through all of that, but you just want to sail off into the sunset? And I've made this claim publicly, this statement publicly before. I think something should be put in place that holds these elected individuals, hold them to the fire, because there have been persons that have been elected by the public that have never even made one meaningful contribution in the house to anything.
I agree.
And because they rode a wave, because they rode a wave with a party, they serve the 2 terms and they get to sail off into the sunset with a beautiful pension for the rest of their lives. But you or I got to walk 33 and a third. or until we 65 to see a little social security, and we know that's nothing. So you understand what I'm saying? We have to find a way to be fair, and then you have civil servants that haven't gotten the increments. You know, like we have to find a way to have a fair balance, man. You know, that is not right. And it seems as though like all we seen is 6 or 1.5 dozen in the next, because some of them sit down and talk about previous administrations and previous politicians, but then they get in and then they're doing just as bad and worse.
Yep.
That's the kind of moves you're gonna make? Nah, that's very questionable, you know.
So one of the big things I have a problem with was like the first point you brought up was waiving the tender process and all that kind of stuff. I have a huge problem with that. But one of the huge things I have a problem with now is that bill that they're trying to introduce with the police. That what exactly is it that when they can't get in trouble for?
That's big facts. Yes,
they can't be held accountable.
That they have some kind of immunity.
Yeah, the immunity. That's the word I'm looking for. I have a huge problem with that, because the police them that are already
as you should
so stupid. And don't get me wrong, I value the police and their work because we need it. We need law enforcement. But a lot of them that act so stupid and entitled, and they treat you like they don't move like they themselves above the law already. So imagine you give these same people immunity now, the kind of chaos are going to happen.
And the thing is, right, like someone doesn't have to listen to you or I speak about this stuff. There's tea, as the young people say. There's evidence. There's video footage of so much of these officers, the way they deal with persons, especially when the person is a BVI lander, is a local. You see the behavior, the way they speak to people, the unprofessional, uncouth behavior, the way they roll up on you, the way they want to rough you up. Because I'm going to tell you straight up, not all of them, there are a few good ones, but there are too many of them that seem to have a preconceived notion. For some reason, it seems to be that they have something against BVI landlords. And I've actually heard a few of them, police officers right here from different nationalities throughout the Caribbean. They come and they always have something terrible to say about BVI landlords. Oh, Tola people listen, BVI people are like, what's your dysfunction? Like, I don't understand it. And they come here, they say things like, how young people could afford to have nice cars here, how we could afford to live in houses that look like these here. I'm like, hello, we work too, you know, we work hard and we you know what I'm saying, we sacrifice and we go to college and all these things too. You know, like, what are you trying to say? We shouldn't have anything in our own country? Like, I remember one time 2 female police officers stopped me and I was driving one of my cars, which is a BMW, a Beamer, and I heard one of them tell her, and look, you see, look where he driving. And I'm like, what? She didn't know that I heard her. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? I could have been driving a Hyundai or Suzuki. What difference does it make? You know, so it's like the mentality some of them had, and nobody can tell me these things. I've heard many of them make such disparaging remarks about BVI landlords. For some reason, it seems to be with some of them, like I say, not all, there's some really cool ones, real professional ones in there, right? I know a couple of them myself. But for some reason, the majority of them seem to have some kind of, I don't know, animosity when they come here. I don't know if it's the whole class in there and teach them to be that way. You know, it kind of seems like it. But I think they need to try to get to the point of there needs to be more community policing. There needs to be a better dialogue, and they need to actually teach a lot of them more courtesy and to use their discretion and be professional and respectful to persons regardless of who it is. Just do your job.
Some of them even do their job a little too well, like people like Super Cup.
Yeah. Well, you see, that's the problem there, and that's where a lot of them, like, they have an agenda, you know. Because you see how they deal with certain persons and then they turn around and deal with the next person behind them because of who that person is, or, like I say, where they're from. You know, I see these things all the time. So it's like a lot of them have that agenda. And I really don't know, man. That's something we need to... And for some reason, this is something that's been going on for many, many years. But we need to get to stamp out the root of this problem. Because there's no way someone should be able to come and abuse their powers. You know, you see it happening even in the US, all around the world now. For some reason, it's like when someone gets a badge, they feel that they're on top of the wall, they're above everyone
Yep.
else. Nah, you're a human being like everyone else. So treat people with professionalism, with courtesy and respect.
Yeah, I mean, even Anigata, we considered pretty much a laid back place. Majority of the time, we normally only have like one police on island, but they recently switched it up now where they have like 2 or 3 on island, and then they take shifts and stuff, which started pretty much because of the pandemic mostly, right? So,
Okay.
last week, 2 of the officers, I guess, had to transfer out or they moved stations to wherever they moved to. No, I don't know if they went Vajangara Tatola, but they brought over another police officer. And we calling him right now our Anigara Super Cup because 2 hours of this man getting off the ferry, he confiscate 9 bikes.
What? You see, that's the thing there now. So he actually arrived with a chip on his shoulder.
Exactly.
See,
And actually,
that's what I'm talking about. That's that mentality, man. That's that kind of entitlement, that kind of vibe where they feel they're above and they don't even know how to use the discretion. But you see, the thing is, right? Persons like that go always end up, paying in the end because they need to understand the same persons that you treat with the disrespect, the same persons that you try to abuse your authority and your power with, you still have to live in the same community with these persons,
Exactly. And then the same man yesterday I was reading and we have like a little Anigata community chat on WhatsApp, a group chat, because Anigata is a small place. So a Spanish lady commented on the chat and said that the police officer come to her house and give her a ticket for something that he claimed he see her do on the road. But my thing is, if you see
we
her do
would have had to
something-
go to court with her.
Facts. My thing is, if you see her do something on the road, why you didn't stop her and ticket her then?
Exactly.
You come later on in the day, not even within the same hour, later on in the day, because I think whatever happened in the morning. He come in the afternoon, went to her house and gave her a ticket.
Nah, that's crazy. He would have had to produce video and we'd have had to go to court with her. Trust me. I would have had his badge.
Facts.
I would have had his badge. Trust me.
Facts. And the man just moving like I don't even know how to describe it. Like I said, we'd call it the Anigata Super Cop now. He only been here for a couple days. And the man just moving with this kind of entitlement, I guess. I don't know what to call it.
Because he
But it's
came
horrible.
here. He arrived there with an agenda. And he already came there with a preconceived notion of how people are over there. He came with an intention to basically mess with people's lives and livelihood.
Facts. And then my thing is he taking the people on bike, right? Yes, the people didn't have maybe their license or insurance or something together, right? But you just reach on the island first of all. Give the people maybe a warning or something because we live in Anigata, we don't have no DMV over here, right?
Exactly.
You have to go to Tola to get everything registered and dealt with. Second of all, the pandemic going on, and a couple times during the lockdowns and stuff, travel between Anigata and Tatola has been restricted. We haven't had no ferries,
That's
no
facts.
planes or anything unless it's emergencies, right? And then people don't have no jobs over here because, over here we depend basically on tourism.
Tourism, yeah.
All the restaurants, everything shut down, right? So nobody ain't working on anything. People ain't really liming on the road or nothing. More or less when people leave the house is if they go into work, if they have work, or if they go into the store to buy something really quick. And majority of the people been in them house. So, and the other people ain't troubling nobody right now. These people on their bikes, that's probably their only source of transportation. They're just getting from A to B. They're not harassing anybody. It's not like we have a problem in Tatola with like any loud pipes or anything like that. And we don't have people in the road doing recklessness or anything. We don't have those problems, right? You give the people them a little warning or stuff. Times already hard. You had to take their only source of transportation
Yes.
within 2 hours of you even reaching on the island.
Well, my brother, as I just said, that's why it boils down to sometimes you see that lack of professionalism, right? Using your discretion. A lot of the times it boils down to using your discretion. So it's not every single thing has to be by the book after the bat because you think that guy, that officer doesn't know the situation. He knows that you guys don't have a DMV over there. He knows you've been locked down. The whole country have been locked down for months, several times in between. He knows So that's the
Yep.
thing. He's not using his discretion. He's not sitting down and actually having a conversation, having some kind of dialogue and as to why this is the case. And then, okay, after that now, well, listen, no, you need to sort out yourself, youth man, or young lady, whoever the case is, you know? But you see, that's the thing, man. They just come with an agenda. They're going to do this. You know, they're the big bad popo, whatever the case is. There's 12, so they're going to do what they want. And that's just how it is, man. Not all of them are going to be professional, and that's the problem. And they know, they know how we are too, and they know that, okay, they're going to try to press your buttons, you know. A lot of them try to press your buttons, you know. Because I've been in situations with many of them, you know, through entertainment, through just being a regular part of the motoring public and stuff. I have a lot of altercations with them, and many of those times has been really crazy. And you know, there are actually one or two times where, you know, we nearly got to another level in terms of getting physical. You know, because one thing I'm not going to stand for is disrespect. I don't care who you are. I'm not going to take disrespect.
Highly agree.
You know, I'm not going to disrespect you doing it. But at the end of the day, you know, you need to learn that first and foremost, people are human beings and you have to be professional and respect them. God, you can't expect to get it if you're not giving it. I don't care whether you're a police officer, you are you in the military or what. Respect people, man.
Well, we've been talking for a little bit, so I just want to ask you one more question and then we can wrap it up.
Okay, sure.
So recently on social media, there's been these huge debates with locals versus expats. What's your take on the situation?
My take on that situation, and I've said this publicly because I do this thing called morning motivation some mornings.
Yeah, I've tuned in a few times.
Yeah, you know, and you know me, I just keep it real and say what's on my heart. And I think first and foremost that unfortunately a lot of persons are using this as a political ploy. It's a distraction to a lot of other things that's going on, because at the end of the day, what difference does it really make? You know, a lot of them, listen, a lot of persons are so very smart, right? While they're dealing with other things, they're going to distract us and they're going to pit people against one another because of where someone is from. That makes no sense whatsoever. I deal with everyone as individuals. I deal with you as an individual. I deal with everybody as an individual. I don't care whether you're white, black, Indian, Chinese, you're from Africa, you're from Asia, wherever you're from. I treat everybody equally across the board. I show you that respect. If you're nice to me, I'm nice to you. You show me love, I show you love. It's as simple as that. But a lot of people are just adding, you know, that lighter fluid to this fire because it solves their agenda. So you have to be careful a lot of the times because they have an agenda to use it for political mileage. So you have to be careful. Some of them are on the radio with this stuff. Yep. So while they're distracting you, you're doing this other things going on. So you got to be careful, you know. But I think, listen, like I said, it all boils down to appreciation for one another, love and respect for one another. I do think that there's some persons, I know that there are some persons within our midst, you know, from other countries, and it's not just to the Caribbean. There are persons here from New Zealand, Australia, UK, all those persons, and they straight up don't like BVI Islanders. Unfortunately, those people exist.
Yeah. But
not everyone is like that. Just like not every BVI Islander has dislike or hate for someone just because they're from another place. Not every BVI Islander has that xenophobia. You know, we're not all the same. So, like I say, you deal with the individual. But I do think though that there are a lot of persons that come from other countries that need to assimilate more. Because my thing is this, right? Like, I spent vast amount of times in other countries. I live in St. Vincent for a month already, walking everything, you know. When I go to Jamaica, I spend 2 weeks or a month at a time. I doing everything, and I assimilate into their culture. If I'm in Jamaica, for instance, right, I know when I go to a club like Quad, I know I go hear Bounty Kill and Busy Signal and stuff. I don't expect to hear 70 plus or Jamman or Stylee Band. I assimilate into their culture, you know. And trust me, everywhere I go, they ask me the same question. Hey, bro, you sure you ain't from here? You sure it's from the Virgin Islands you from? It's like, yeah, why? They're like, but you flex just like us. I'm like, listen, I'm a human being first and foremost. Like I say, show me respect, I show you respect. Show me love, I show you love. And I could sit down on any corner with anybody, from the president, from a governor, come straight down to whoever. I could line with anybody. I don't judge people. I ain't in that kind of nonsense, you know. So people need to have more tolerance. People need to respect each other more. And persons that come from other countries, the one thing I don't like though is when persons come from other countries, no matter where they come from, and they feel that the BVI has rules and regulations and we should always bend them just because they want us to, because something is specifically not how they want it to be. For instance, if you on a work permit, you have to go by the process. When you go to the UK, some of these same persons go to the UK, they go to Antigua, they go to Trinidad, and they follow the same kind of rules, and it's no problem. But for some reason, in the BVI, we must always bend and break all rules for you. Why can't you just respect the process? Not saying that we don't have things that we could fix or tailor, you know what I mean, tweak a little bit to be better. We could always be better. You know.
Of course.
But I'm just saying, why should we bend and break all rules and regulations and change all legislation and all laws just for you? You have to abide. When you go to Cayman Islands have stringent laws. You talking about labor, about immigration, about owning property, everything. When you go there, you ain't making noise. When you go to New York and you want to go to school, you have to get a student visa. You have to apply for that. You go to the UK, you want to live and work there. You have to go through certain things. Australia, wherever you talk about. So nowhere in the world is too much different, you know, and I don't see why if you go to, say, the Emirates, right? I've been to Dubai and stuff like that, right? United Arab Emirates. And let me tell you something, right? Like, I went on this tour and stuff while I was there out in the desert, and then we went to like Palm Jumeirah and Burj Khalifa and all these places, and they took us on tour where you got people like, say for instance, somebody like David Beckham, that's a multi-millionaire, you know, soccer player and stuff. You can have a house there, right? But you don't own the land, you know. Unless you are born in Emirates, you cannot own that land. That's their way of protecting their people. Like you go to places like Monaco, they make sure that their indigenous people don't go below a certain standard of living. You understand? Because there's so much money passing through the place, they will get a stipend and stuff. You got World Series of Poker, Monaco Grand Prix, you got casinos, you got a super rich and wealthy passing through. So they make sure that people benefit from that. So my whole thing is, when you go to say, and here's the thing, because you go to Antigua, you really expect to see persons from Jamaica or Barbados all in their parliament and their legislature and their prime minister and stuff. No, them people gonna be like, nah, you crazy? I have friends that have been to Barbados, Antigua, Cayman Islands, all these places, Trinidad, and when they go there, you know what they tell them? Yeah, you qualify for the job, you know, but here we have a local that could qualify, so we ain't no way in the world we could give you this job. So I say that to say this. Why is it a problem when people say the BVI should put BVI landers first? You understand what I'm saying? And this is nothing against anyone. I'm just saying that why is it a problem here? We have, listen, the majority of us have nothing against anyone from any nationality, you know. So let's just get that out of the way first and foremost. Not everyone here has this xenophobia. Not everyone here is into classism. Not everyone here is a racist and all that stuff. You know, we weren't brought up that way. Some are, just like some of them that come. And you go to look at stuff like community boards and stuff like that on social media and Facebook. Do you read some of the comments that some of these persons post on there? You ever read them?
It makes me laugh a lot, actually.
And I'm like, nowhere else in the world would they go to someone else's country and make these kind of statements. They would be afraid to go out their house on the street.
You're absolutely right.
But no, this is a BVI, so we could say what we want, do what we want. Nobody can do anything to us. We could tell them how to bend and break the rules to suit us, to suit me. Nah, that's crazy, man.
I very much agree with you. I wish more people thought the way you did too, because even though I would say majority of people aren't that way, that racism thought, the xenophobia and what's not, it's still a good bit of them that are. And
that's true. That is true.
And I think because of social media, the fact that you could hide behind a keyboard, they like to show their colors a lot more.
Yes, because everybody's an internet gangster.
Facts.
It's easy to hide behind a keyboard. That's why, like, not everyone will come and, you know, put our real name or go on Facebook Live or go on social media and put all true feelings and come out and speak publicly, you know. And the next thing too is that what I really don't get, there's a lot of persons that come from outside different nations in the world. And a lot of them come here and think for some reason, like we live in some prehistoric place where we don't have internet. We never went to school. We're not educated. Look at young persons like yourself. Look at myself, how well we can articulate ourselves and present ourselves. And we're educated and we're cultured and well-traveled. For some reason, they think all of us to be dumb. A lot of them think like that,
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
And the next thing too, right? They're not accustomed of us fighting back, A lot of them come to this country and they come from places where, they do what they want, or they roll in social circles that they were friends with the higher ups, the upper echelon, the elite. So when they come here, they feel they could behave how they want. Nah. There's a lot of different...
man will tell them, kiss them out of skunt real quick.
Exactly. We will tell them real quick, and we don't care who they are and how much money they have and where they come from. And what the social standings are. We will tell them that. I personally have told enough of them that. Because you see right, brother, they ain't accustomed to us fighting back, So when they come to a place like this here now, because you realize we are in a unique position also in the BVI. You go to even other Caribbean countries, right? You know who owns the majority of the lands there? Their government. Who owns the majority of the land here? Individuals, families, persons.
That's true.
It's very different. We in a very unique position. Remember when they left here, when slavery was abolished and all that stuff, and they bust off, leave us. They left us here to die, They never thought we would be a thriving economy and territory like this.
True.
As advanced, So, and now they come back here now and they feel like, wow, man, this is a gold mine, man. Let's trample these locals and, let them go back in the bush where they come from. Some of them have that kind of mentality as well.
Yeah, they're definitely trying.
So that's why we have to stand firm. And we have to look out for one another. We have to fight together and not against one another. Too many of us in that... It's so many of us that are house Negroes, man, that are quick to sell out. And one thing with me, I say all the time, we in the entertainment business, we sell off, we don't sell out.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? And it's real. It's real. Too many of us are quick to sell out. And we're hypocrites because we talk the talk, we don't walk the walk.
You're very right.
And we don't care what some of us don't care what happens to the rest of the persons here, the rest of society. Once we get what we want as an individual or as a family, everyone else could die for all we care. That's how some of these persons think.
When I was younger, I think I was guilty of that. I think I probably used to think that exact way, actually. Like, I just used to try to worry about me, and then once I get what I want, is like, fuck whoever else. Nobody else don't really matter after that. But
remember,
I got older,
it's energy. That energy always comes around, and remember, you may not be in the same position you are all the time. You may not have the same resources and the same links you have. And at the end of the day, you're going to have children. Your children are going to have to live through these same persons as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have my daughter now, but yeah.
Well, I'm just speaking in general terms. Don't mean you.
I get you. Yeah.
But that's just how it is, and that's why we also have to be very careful. You understand? Because like I tell people all the time, before you try to screw me over, before you talk about me, before you try to ridicule me and diss me, make sure you never ever need me again.
Facts. Very much.
You understand? And that's why you have to be careful in life. Remember, the same part of the towel that you wipe your ass with this morning, you might inadvertently wipe your face with it tonight.
Yep.
And that's just facts. So be careful. That's why you treat me. I treat everybody the same. You know what I'm saying? With respect. If you want to be standoffish, that's cool. If you want to disrespect me, then you know what I mean. You don't know what time it is. Because I tell people all the time, I could be as good as the best of them, but as bad as the worst. And trust me, ain't nobody could be more cold-hearted and cruel than me if I get to that point.
Yep.
So simple as that, man.
Simple as that. I'd like to leave it off on that note. I think we had a very productive discussion, and
definitely, man.
Always
great talking to your brother.
Yeah, man, for sure. Appreciate you joining the podcast.
Anytime, man. And this is a great thing you're doing, man. All the best and continued success.
Thank you.
Keep it pushing, my brother. You already know, man. I highly admire and respect you as a young brother in this country and the territory. In everything you're doing. I see you making big moves and nothing but the best, man. Respect.
Trying a thing. Hopefully next time.
You ain't trying, brother. You're doing. Stop trying. You're doing.
Thanks. I got to stop saying that. It's like a habit in my mind. I always say that.
Exactly.
I got to stop that.
You're doing.
Yeah, I got to start saying I'm doing it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hopefully next time on the podcast we could end up doing it face to face when this Corona thing end up being a little calm down a little bit and the world kind of settles back into normal.
Well, you know me, even if you want me get on the boat and I quick to shoot cross and ain't no problem.
Yeah, man. Hopefully one of these days for sure. Whenever we do the next episode.
Definitely, man. I down for it anytime.
So before you go, you have any projects coming up soon that you want to let the people know about? Also, where they can find you on social media? Anything you just want to plug in real quick?
Oh, sure. Yeah, man. I have a significant amount of projects working. I'm working on some music projects, some recording, some original material for different artists throughout the Caribbean, from Antigua, Anguilla, St. Martin, Trinidad, and Jamaica as well. I have stuff coming up with Pascal as well, Pascal the artist. I have stuff coming up from with Ramon. That's my cousin Ramon G. Myself, Xtreme Band. I have more coming. Don't forget, people, you can tune into my Ministry of Rhythm series. That's a really great series that I have going on Facebook Live, where I interview persons that have contributed significantly to the music industry in the Virgin Islands, as well as we stepped out. We went to Anguilla. We did Haji, that was part of Better Band, and all these different great bands. We had Swanks on there. I had Osai on there. We had Shah, we had Brent Hoyt,
Yep.
All these different persons. So we're gonna continue pushing that. I have a lot of other projects coming up as well. My morning motivation series, we're gonna be working on the official YouTube channels for all of these things as well.
I was just gonna say you should see if you could even try start do your own podcast with them same Ministry of Rhythm. That'd be a great podcast.
Yeah, man, definitely. So that's what I'm saying. So I have a lot of projects in the works. I've been delving into, the whole media content part of it now, learning some stuff, downloading software. I spent a whole ton of money buying some cameras and different equipment,
Nice.
just investing in my whole brand and, stepping up the game. I'll be doing a lot of production coming up. If anyone wants to find me on social media, on Instagram is Dirky VI. That's DIRKY VI. That's on Instagram. Same thing on Twitter, though I hardly check Twitter, to be honest. Facebook is Dirk Walters, DIRK WALTERS. Of course, you can check the Xtreme Band page on Facebook as well as Ministry of Rhythm. And Rhythm is spelled like how we spell it here locally, RIDDIM. That's Ministry of Rhythm. You can search for that on Facebook. Dirk Walters, Xtreme Band. That's XTREME, Xtreme Band, without the E at the beginning. So that's how they can find me on social media. Anyone wants to email me about anything from music production to rhythm to hiring Xtreme Band, they could email me. That's dirklwalters@gmail.com. That's DIRKLWALTERS@gmail.com. They can inbox me through Facebook Messenger as well. You can direct message me on Instagram. Instagram, once again, is Dirky VI. That's DIRKY VI. So I have a lot of big things in the works. So just keeping busy, just staying busy.
That's great.
People are always calling me to work with them with different projects. I work with different bands and different artists as well. I do live song engineering, do song system work. I could run your whole stage, everything for you. I've been stage manager for big productions like BVI Music Fest with Daddy Yankee and all of these persons. So I'm all around, man, and doing my thing.
We'll have to talk about Music Fest on the next podcast for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Definitely. And speaking of fests, I hoping that everything holds up for Lapsa Fest,
Oh, I'm praying. I am praying.
Yeah.
We have one good sign because they said they're opening back up the country in December. So that's a good sign. So I'm praying.
Yeah, that's really good, because once the country is open up totally internally, that's good,
Yep.
Because trust me, the whole of Tortola comes to Antigua for Lapsa Fest, Virgin Gada, Yosman, like that's more than enough people, man, even without persons coming in from outside.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my stuff ready for the Juve and stuff. I have my letters and stuff to send out to the police and stuff to see if I can get my different permissions and thing, hoping everything gets approved and goes smoothly. And hopefully I still got enough time to get some sponsors so I can put the whole thing together.
Yeah, man, definitely, man. Things will fall into place, man. And you already know, man, you need help with anything, you need my assistance, you know how to hit me up.
All right, say less.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, thanks again for being here.
Peace, man. Enough respect. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. if you have made it this far, congratulations. You sat through 2 hours and change, but I'm pretty sure you're leaving feeling better, with more knowledge that you didn't have when you first clicked this podcast, hopefully entertained. And I'm going to keep this outro pretty short. I just want to say thank you for even making it this far. See you guys next Monday.